Hello, we're back. We're going to be plotting points today, and this is a precursor to graphing. Graphing linear equations, quadratics, etc. Just graphing functions, equations, graphs, whatever you want to call it. But in order to do that properly, you have to know how to plot points. And once you're able to do that, then you can move on to something that's more difficult, or more challenging, more fun too at the same time. So I have myself a set of points. In fact, I have myself many points. I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. And I'm telling you we're going to plot all those points. And we're going to plot all those points on a coordinate system. It's basically two number lines, one that's horizontal and one that's vertical. And they're crossed together to make a plus type figure. Now, I call this going to grandma's house when we first learned this. Not when it comes to graphing linear functions, but just when it comes to plotting. And you need to know how to plot in order to even start knowing how to graph. So there's a few things I have to tell you before we end up answering any questions. One of these points is that this horizontal number line is x. It's the x values. And the vertical number line is the set of y values. Now we're going to plot all these points that I wrote up here, and I'll get out of the way and stop blocking you. But in order to understand that, there's something else you have to realize. The first number you see in a ordered pair, 3 is the first number here, -3, -3, 3, 0, 4, -4, 0, 0. Those are the x values. And the second number you see in the ordered pair, it's called an ordered pair because it's in order and it's a pair, is the y value. So we're going to plot every one of these points, and if you need to look back at it just to make sure to know how to plot, you're always welcome to do that. And hopefully it'll give you a much better idea on how to plot points. So the first one is 3, 2. And I always like to say, well, we're going to start at our home. Well, what's our home? It's the middle of the graph. Well, that might be a poor way to explain it if your graph looks slightly different than this graph right here. So what it is it's the intersection of the x number line and the y number line. And that intersection occurs right there. Now we're going to start right there. That's where we're starting to, and we're going to go to all these fun-filled places. We're going to go to place A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. E's not so exciting, but we're not going to have to really do anything. But we'll get to that in a moment. So we're going to go to 3, 2. Now we're going to travel 3 on our x number line and 2 on our y number line. Now before I say that, we're starting right here. This is our x-axis. Anything to the left of it is negative. Anything to the right is positive. And for our y number line, anything above this intersection, which is called the origin, but kind of wanted to say that, is positive, and anything below it is negative. So we're going to go to 3, 2, starting from this particular spot. So we go over 3 on the x, this is the x, that's the y. 1, 2, 3. But wait, we also got to go 2 on the y. So we go 3 on the x and then up 2. What a lot of students do that I notice, well, not a lot of students, but some students do when they're first making mistakes on this, is they put a point here and then they put a point there. No, you got to go through with the x and with the y. You got to use both your motions. Don't just say, oh, I'm just going to stop there. No, you got to go 3 on the x, 2 on the y, then plot your point. And to make sure that we know which point is which, we're going to label them. And that point was A. Now we're going to go -3, 2. So we're going to go -3 on the x-axis, but we start at our same starting point. So positive was to the right, negative is to the left. And we're going to go 2 on the y. 1, 2. And we're going to label that B. They look pretty similar so far. We're going to go to place C, and we always start at the origin. And we're going to go -3 on the x and -2 on the y. So we're going to go to the left, 1, 2, 3. Now, positive y is this way, negative y is that way. So we're going to go -1, -2, -3, -1, -2. And that's C. D is located right there. And then, just for argument's sake, I put point E. We're going to start here, and we're going to go 0, 0. So, we're not traveling on the X, and we're not traveling on the Y. We're going to be right there. And that's point E. We're going to call that lazy Sunday, going nowhere for this particular spot. Something for you to think about. For point F, we're going to go 4 on the X, positive, and 0 on the Y. Lots of students get this wrong. They plot it in all different areas when they're first doing this. And then when they get better, it's fine. But you got to make sure that you end up doing it correctly. So we're going to go 4 on the X, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're not going anywhere on the Y. So we're done. That's where point F is. G is -4, 0. So we're going to go left 4, nowhere on the Y. And we always start from the origin. We always start from this intersection. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's point G. H is 0, 4. Even more troubling for students when they're first plotting points. We're not going anywhere on the X. It means we're not going to the right and we're not going to the left. We're going nowhere, but we are going 4 on the Y. And we're going positive. Positive is up on the Y, negative is down on the Y. So we're going to go up 4. 1, 2, 4. That was point H. And we've got I. We're going nowhere on the X, and we're going 4 down. And we just plotted all those points, A through I. There is a few other things that are important to mention when we're doing this. We are plotting our coordinate system or our Cartesian plane. And when you say that to students in class, they sometimes mouth Cartesian. Because it's a big word and all that good stuff. We just call it the XY axis. You can call it point system, whatever. It's just basically a two-dimensional point system. The few things of mentioning are this. This horizontal line is the x-axis. This vertical line is the y-axis. This point, or this spot, where both the x and the y intersect is called the origin. And the way that I get my students to remember it is, the origin is the beginning. You're always beginning at the origin. Origin. And then there are quadrants on a XY graph. There are 4 quadrants. This little space to the top right is quadrant 1. It encompasses all this space. Point A is in quadrant 1 right now. This space right here is in quadrant 2. This space right here is in quadrant 3. Probably should stick to Roman numerals. And this space right here is in quadrant 4. Another point to get across when I'm doing this with students is, where does each point belong? Well, A is in quadrant 1, B is in quadrant 2, C is in quadrant 3, point D is in quadrant 4. F is not in any particular quadrant. It's on the x-axis. H is on the y-axis. It's not in any quadrant. It's on an axis. G is on the x-axis. I is on the y-axis. Lots of students get that confused. They say, oh, I is, quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. No, it's on the y-axis. It's not in any open space. It's actually existing on the line. And E is not on the x or y. You would say it's on the origin. So with that said, that's a brief introduction to plotting points. What we're going to end up following this with is how to plot them given an equation, discrete and continuous functions, proper form of graphing, etc. Very fun stuff. Very important to keep in mind, though, that you should be focused when you're doing this. It makes it a lot easier because they don't go away when you take an algebra class or an algebra 2. You got to graph. It's as simple as that. And there are different methods for graphing, and we will explore those as we continue with that. But for right now, have a great day. Goodbye.